All right, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I will highlight Akanksha so that we have her in the spotlight. Akanksha, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I feel quite humbled by how you've introduced me, but actually, it's not too bad a description of me asking someone how they plan to take that what they've learned forward. So that's quite an accurate description. Everything else, I really do appreciate what you said. Yeah, so my name is Akanksha Batura Pai. I don't know many of you in person, but I know many of you online, and I have met some of you. I've had the really nice privilege of meeting some of you. So I'm based in Singapore. Just some quick facts about me. Um, I'm based in Singapore. I'm the daughter of a seafarer. And in fact, I work with him as well. He's my boss, my dad. I work in a family-owned business. I work in the services space in Singapore. It's an agency, and then we have a logistics company and a crew transport company. I joined approximately about 10 years ago, and I am the mother of two young girls, which honestly makes what I do a lot more important to me. I do want to be a good role model for them if possible and introduce them to good role models as well. And Yeah, and I don't know what else to begin introduction with, but I think this, and I dress very colorfully, so you can see. I, even though I'm in a very male dominated industry, I really do enjoy colors very much. So you will always see me in some colors. So I think this is a fun, easy introduction of me. But yes, Tenaz, I know you have some questions for me, maybe.
Yeah, and I also just want to add to that where I think it's so important for us to be okay with wearing colors because I feel like a lot of times when we try to fit in, especially in like we think that they're not going to take us seriously. And I think it's good to say like, yes, we can wear glitter, we can wear colors. It's okay. It does not take away from the work that we actually do. So
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And this is a fact. We can discuss this later on, but yes.
yeah. All right. So, is like you did tell us a bit about your background, but why did you decide to join the company and the maritime industry?
So, to be very honest with you, it seems, to someone who sees a brief about me, they may think that, okay, it was quite destined for you to have joined maritime. You have a family business. But I'll be very honest with you, when my dad started the business, he didn't start it as a legacy business. He started this as something like he wanted to start. He was a seafarer. He was sailing with NOL back when NOL was a Singapore flag bearer. And he, started this thinking that this will be an ethical and a good way for me to give back to the community, as in, and earn a living, you know. And most of the colleagues that I have been in the company for, I'm telling you, literally 10, 12, 15, 20 years. The company itself is 33 years old. So the idea is that he's always wanted to just do good around others as well, and that's kind of where I get it from. So the reason why I joined the industry is because I was exposed to it. Actually, is because I knew about it. It's because I knew how it worked. I actually graduated from NUS, National University of Singapore, with a bachelor's and a double master's in management. Without any exception, all of my batchmates, everybody went to either consulting, banking, FMCG, and that was actually the path that I should have chosen. Maybe, not should have at that point. You keep thinking that that's the point you have to go. My internships were in DBS Vickers in New York, which is a securities analyst firm that is a DBS offshoot. And then I had done some work with Milan, it's called L'Oreal in Milan. So it was really nothing to do with maritime. So when I joined, to be very frank with you, I was floundering around. I remember almost every day thinking, like, what am I doing? Like, what is this? Like, because I had no on-the-job training either. I just had to like join and try to make sense of it. And the colleagues I had weren't really, they would see me as not an equal, right? Like, it's like, oh, this is the boss's daughter. I can't go to them and ask them for training. Of course, they were very kind to me, but it's a very different atmosphere. So I do think that for the first 2 3 years, I was really lost. And actually, what helped was getting involved in the community. So we are from an SME, right, a small and medium enterprise. So my touch base with the outside world is through volunteering organizations. So I started doing that, and I was quite supported by women. Actually, I remember sitting in some meetings, and then this more senior lady who is still around and still very much a mentor for me just said, "Oh yeah, why don't you let Akanksha handle this?" Like some subcommittee chair or something. And I was like, I don't know head or tail about this. Like what is she, you know? But then she's like, "Yeah, you'll learn. It's fine. I'm here. I'll teach you." And I think those things just made me understand the industry more. Because again, as an SME, there's only that much I know. You know, our industry is so tightly knit, but extremely fragmented. So you may not even know what your colleagues are doing in a different division of your own company. It may take you a while to understand what they do actually. So it is quite necessary to step out to understand what's happening, you know. So that's kind of how my journey started. You know, it's not just like a validation from the company or anything of that sort. It really is just me wanting to learn more and just doing whatever grunt work that was passed to me. So I just, whatever you put on my lap, I'll do it, you know. Yeah, so that was, I think an accurate way to describe my my foray into maritime. I don't know if I missed anything, but yeah.
Yeah, that's good. I think it's very important for us to like not shy away from the grunt work, because that's also how we learn, and that's how we are able to tackle like even problems, say like 10 years down the line, because it's something that you've done hands on yourself in the past. So I think that's amazing. You did mention about this one woman who were like helped you and gave you these opportunities, but did you see any like did you notice like a gender gap, at least, or either at work or outside of work during networking and things like that?
So Singapore is quite we're quite lucky this way that the female participation in the workforce is pretty high, right? Being a developed country. But nonetheless, in maritime, it is still the division is quite obvious. And then it is also quite, you know, understood that the roles women are doing generally are, well, not understood, but it is the case right now where they are it's legal and finance and not really the ops side, right? So, and usually the people who become C-suite are people who have done ops. Okay. So when I used to attend events, if I tagged along with my dad, I would basically be his shadow, right? And so there were all these like just penguins, right? Just black and white. Like it's just, you just see coats and, you know, people in white shirts and black coats. And yeah, there is a big divide, and this is just 10 years ago, like, and things have already changed so much. But to be frank with you, I have never felt very mm, discriminated against. Okay, I've also had the fortune to be around men who have power, who have empowered me, right? So that has been extremely helpful as well to my growth and my career, or whatever you want to call it, right? And yeah, I think, in fact, the first few weeks, months that I joined, it was a lot of women. Or when I told you that I joined this, like the, you know, that volunteer part, it was actually a lot of women who were in charge and who helped me out. And they actually promoted, like, oh, yeah, yeah. But I was also dynamic. Like, I was also someone who wanted to learn, who was eager, who wanted to, like, yeah, okay, you want me to do something, I'll do it, you know, and not seeking the glory of it, right? Like it's more, you just have to pay your dues as well. So, yes, there is a gender divide, and there was one as well, and there still is. Um, but you will find good-hearted people as well who are willing to give you a shot if you do your part as well.
And I think what I'm hearing also is that what has helped you in your career has been mentorship and support from women very early on. So while these are things that all of us are still trying to work on now, to be able to see your growth and see where you've reached has been like, if I can see a direct result of like having the support of women leaders.
Oh, yes. And then let me tell you something, right? Like now we call it mentorship and all that. Like now we have structures around it. But as I told you, I have seen my dad speak with people who are I don't want to name names, but they are literally C-suite people right now who started with very little and he helped them. Okay, I'll help you to set up your company. I'll help to do that. We never formally called it mentorship, but this is how you help the industry. You help people around you. That goodwill has to be around, right? For the industry as well, not just for your personal growth. But you have to also make it look like there's a pool of goodwill in this industry and you can tap into it. And it doesn't always have to be a very structured way of looking at mentorship, right? So this is how I deal with mentorship. So I am currently a mentor for two young girls at through the Singapore Maritime Foundation. They're two students. Actually, one is a student and she just started in the workforce. But it's not that that's limited. Like that's not I don't limit myself to just that. If someone asks me for help, I'll always try to link them up if it's in my capacity to do so, you know? So yeah, it's a little bit of that as well.
Right. So I'm going to jump to a question again on like basically based on this, which is why, why do you think mentorship or allyship or even advocating for rights, why do you think it's so important? I know you said that you do it, but maybe if you like really put words to it, like why do you think it's important?
Yeah, it's a hard one. I do think I've given quite a few good reasons to do it. But I really think that a more equal world is a better one for everyone, right? So I think that until you realize that that's the end goal, to make sure that everybody has equitable opportunities. Once you realize that, then you realize why allyship or mentorship or advocacy is important. And the other reason why I advocate so much for maritime industry is because it's twofold. Is because I think it's given me so much. It's given my family so much, as I told you. As in, my dad was essentially an immigrant, right? He came from India. He came from a landlocked city in India, and then he went to sail because the industry gave him an opportunity, and then the country gave him an opportunity. So I'm very thankful for that. And the other reason I advocate for it is because I think this industry is capable of so much. It literally can you I mean it's unimaginable that 90% of volume of goods transports by this sector, and it has the capability of lifting people out of poverty. So I feel that the more we talk about this, the more we offer opportunities to people, and it doesn't just need to be male seafarers. It can be, it doesn't even need to be female seafarers if they don't want to do it, even if it's an equitable job. Like it is also proven by that the survey, the IMO Women in Maritime survey, that actually it's the males who are seafarers, but it's the females that are training them. So once you open up opportunities for anyone, you just generate a lot of growth. So I just feel like this industry is genuinely capable to lift people out of a lot of poverty or a lot of socioeconomic problems and give opportunities. So that is really, I don't know how to say it. There's a macro reason, there's a micro reason, but yeah, I definitely believe that you have to do that.
Okay. I have two questions. I mean, or rather, I have one question that has two parts. So, like, if someone wants to be a mentor, how do you tell them? I mean, apart from like signing up and things like that, how, like, what do you think it's important? Like, maybe three things that is important for them to be a mentor. Like, what are things that they must have? And also, like the other side, like a mentee. So, someone that's looking for mentorship, what are things that they should like be aware of, they should be prepared with before they go out and seek mentorship?
Yeah, I think I don't. Okay, let me try to frame it properly. But I think for mentees, first of all, you have to be proactive. And you don't only need to cultivate a relationship with one mentor. You can have more, but make sure you give it time, because by virtue of the fact that you have chosen someone to be your mentor, most likely means that they are going to be busier than you are, which is, you want them to be busy as well because you want them to be more experienced than you. So you really have to put in the effort to um structure their time better with you, right? And as a mentor, I think you have a huge responsibility because sometimes, people's hopes and dreams are like literally like, hooked onto your ability to give them your time. So once you sign up, I think you have to honor that. And then also, as much as possible, try to be giving with your resources. You know, some I have met some people who don't like to seek favors, and I'm quite unabashedly saying that I like to. I just will ask for favors, but because I know that I may be called upon at some point to repay it. But that's fine. I put myself on that line that, okay, if you will ever ask me, then I will put in my time and effort to make it right for you. So I think as a mentor, sometimes you have to be okay with that. And these are like small nuances. I don't, if you ask ChatGPT or Meta, they'll tell you like a list of things you can do as a good mentor. But I think that these are the small nuances that sometimes mentors shy away from. And that's something that if you only have the bandwidth for one or two, and that's all the favors you want to ask, or you can't do something, then maybe just be upfront about it. Um, yeah, it's important to perhaps have a early discussion to see what each person wants so that you match properly as well. And then, as to be frank with you, I think mentorship, the person who runs the mentorship also, it's very tough for them, right? So I don't envy the position that secretariats have when they run these programs, because it's tough to match the right people to each other, and it's important to manage everyone's expectations as well.
Yeah.
Some mentees feel like if they have a mentor, they'll get a job, but that's most of the time not true. You can just sharpen your skill sets and then potentially make that to be a relevant thing to get a job. But you can't have that kind of expectation either.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Yeah.
Actually, I was also thinking about a thing that happened with me a couple of years ago, where I was applying at like a ship management company a while back, and because I didn't feel like I had enough information, because I was getting in a semi-senior role, and I felt like I need to have that information. I reached out to Sanjam and I asked her to, like, give me someone. At that time, maritime chief wasn't where it is now, but I'd asked her to like give me someone to help, and then she had connected me with someone, and the person did not really give me the information that I needed. And I was like, okay, I guess this is life. And Sanju was like, no, your mentor is supposed to help you out. Let me give you another person, and another person that can give you exactly the information you need, the amount of time you need, and the kind of attention that you need to like the information. And I think that is also like a lesson that I learned, that if a mentor isn't meeting you, it's fine. It's okay to search for someone else that kind of like meets who you want, as long as you're not really kind of accepting things and like being okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll be very honest with you, then, as a lot of times I don't have the answers for questions people ask me. But
Yeah.
but as I said, I'm willing to ask further questions to other people or call in favors. So yeah, Sanjamji is right. You have to, that person, whoever does it, has to be willing to have that person has to be thick-skinned enough. Let's put it that way, to
Yeah.
like stick it out with you. And then if you have further questions, be like, okay, listen, 10 hours, let me find out for you, or you need to hold your horses. Just be very open with that, with what they have, right? As well.
Yeah. Yeah, makes sense. All right. So I have one question, and in the meanwhile, I'll also open the chat box to like if anyone has any other questions for Akanksha, we can take that up. Yeah. So my question is very simple, which is like, what drew you to Maritime Shio?
Oh, yeah, I thought it was a really great initiative, because I feel like okay, a few things, right? Um, okay, how do I even begin? So, okay, imagine when this list came out, right, with this whole top 100 women in shipping. So there were a few people who would say, okay, but this isn't very accurate, this isn't this. And that's absolutely fair. But it just goes to show how few lists we have, how few validations we have for women, that everybody's attention is focused on this one thing that someone has tried to do to give
Hmm.
validation to women who are doing something, you know? So it's the same with Maritime CEO. I was just very happy that other than what I only knew to be Vista, which is also actually a Women in Shipping and Trading Associations, which is, it should go in commodities as well. Commodities women should come under Vista as well. So it's not 100% only maritime, right? And so I was just very happy that there are more avenues coming up, and Maritime CEO, as far as I know, is free,
Yeah.
right? So I felt like it was more accessible as well. And kudos to people to start more and more institutions, um, initiatives, programs. It's you need. I am a firm believer of the day that I'm not required to do what I'm doing is the day I'm successful, because that means that it's done. The job is done. The work is done. But until the work is done, any amount of effort that comes into it as a new initiative or whatever it is, I really admire it. And I do think that with Maritime CEO, whoever has done it, whether it's Youth and Us or whether it's Sanjam ma'am, the amount of spotlight on women is quite admirable. It's quite good, and it's not it's run purely by both of you, I think, and the ambassadors and all of that.
Yeah.
And that's why I like it. I really like that it just embodies more of what maritime is about.
Yeah, and I think we're also a firm kind of believer on giving more opportunities for women. Like, for example, a lot of people ask for, like, in our mentorship program or in the ambassadorship program, should we have more men be there? And it was like, no, men have enough opportunities. Let's give it to the ones that can actually do the job. Like, we have enough capable women to be mentors, we have enough capable women to be ambassadors. So I think we have a good pool. We just
Yes.
need to get people to be in that pool, basically.
Yeah, and I'll just okay. The other thing is that women tend to shy away from their achievements. We tend to put the not the what's the word, like, the recognition of our achievements to, oh yeah, it was just this, it was just that. We never own it. And I feel like Maritime CE also does that. Like, they also empower women by celebrating their achievements, and it can be anything small as well, like what you have just shared in the beginning of this call. It's so important to realize that, I don't think people realize that if a woman achieves anything, it's, to be honest, much harder for her to do it, because there's so much stacked up against her. And this is such a un talked about uh, concept, I recently learned that professionalism, the word, basically is a very misogynist or patriarchal concept as well, because it implies that you have to do things in a certain way,
Mm,
or you have to only do, you have to keep your, which I've always believed in. I don't keep my business and personal life separate. I actually make it a point to try and share that on socials as well, because I think that women have so much more to bear that
yeah,
it is just seen to be like you have to hide it away, you know.
yeah.
But anyway, I forgot how I started this entire tirade. but but I just want to say that I think what Maritime CEO is doing is great, and it is in tandem with everything else that is happening in the industry, and more of these initiatives are always welcome. We should not view it as a competition of sorts. You get what I mean, Tanas? Because I feel like sometimes it is seen as that. People who start initiatives get very possessive of them. But if you're doing it for a bigger picture, then please remember the bigger picture, and you know,
Makes sense.
be an ambassador for certain things. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was also thinking about how you said, um, like sometimes it's not like either Sanjam or I. Like I remember, like, even at the awards thing, it's something
Yeah.
very small, and I realize you don't talk about it. or maybe you do, but like I remember in our scripts and everything like that, we've written Akanksha, and then Amsha looks at it, she pauses at the script and she goes, Dr. Akanksha Batura Pai. And I was like, oh my god, we missed such a big accreditation to her name.
No, actually, it's yeah, it's true. I do not bring it up because it's a professional doctorate, so it's not by research. And so when I look at the women who have, like Dr. Diana over here,
Yeah.
I try not to. It's true. I do agree with you that even I am a victim of my own thought process and this thing that we have. But these are I really don't know. I don't know how to answer it. But yes, you are right. You've got it. You've got it on you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
But we do also have a question in the chat.
Yes.
I don't know if I can take it.
Yeah, I mean, of course. So, Ruxana says that she loves your colorful style. How do you manage work-life balance, especially with two young kids and managing work, which is literally 24/7?
Okay, so first of all, thank you for the compliment. I do feel like I'm on a radio show and it's like I'm getting these, like questions from the audience. I love it. But okay, I don't think there's any such thing as balance. Okay, I read quite often, and more than reading, I do a lot of audio booking, and started doing a lot more of that because when my first was very young, she was just what you call sleep averse. So I would need to like bounce that child so much, and then I would just listen to like a book or something to like at least feel like I'm productive in some way. But basically, there was this. I credit this lady. I can't remember. I'll remember and I'll chat. I'll put it in the chat. But um there's no such thing as balance. It's just a constant and noisy conversation among the many different things that need you at any point in time. So I have not found balance, and I implore all you ladies to not bother finding it. You're just juggling some things all the time, and some things will need more of your time at certain days and some things won't. And it will just be like that. It is just I mean, as a mother, I can say that. I think if you're not a mom, it still exists, that level of you have to be a caretaker for for some people, and that exists. That dynamic exists in our society. So I don't think there's balance. I have given up on it. Like I used to feel negative about that, but now I have realized that it is what it is. And there are many days, there are many days that I'll be like, oh my God, did I do like I basically got into this chair 2 minutes, I kid you not, before Tenaz, you and I started talking because my younger one now has a stomach bug. My older one just got out of a stomach bug, changed her school. So I had to pick her up, bring her back, talk to the teachers. Like it is what part of balance is that? Like I'm not in a Zen state right now, like I, I, my adrenaline was still moving. Like I was like trying to put on a little bit of makeup and be like, okay, let me look presentable. So I think it's fair and it's okay to like come to terms with that. And just one more thing I want to add, right? Like I remember when during COVID when we used to do a lot of video calls, this lady came on and said, "Oh my God, I'm not looking very good, don't look at me." And I'm like, why? Like it's such a concept, right? That we have to wear makeup to make ourselves look presentable. And I'm like, why? Like most people, like you don't need to. It should be something you do for yourself, not for others. But it is such a and that also is time consuming, right? So like every part of us, there's so much of our time being taken at so many different things. So I don't you have to pick and choose. So I have white hair now and I don't think I'm ever going to bother coloring it because I don't have the time for that. So you really have to prioritize what you believe in, because for me, I'm like, I'd rather spend that time doing the work I like or being with my kids. I do not want to bother with this. Oh, thank you. You can't really see it, but it's the filters. I didn't do anything, okay? But yeah. But it's about being authentic and just realizing that there are certain things you can and you can't do. And it is fine to be that person. And it is fine to learn from others as well. I can't say anything else much more than that. But wait, one last thing. Sorry. I have to credit someone. I went to the Vista Cyprus event last year in October. And I was feeling super guilty because I was away from my both my kids, and my first kid wasn't even one at that point. And this is the power of women as well. I was speaking to a lady who had brought her, I think around 10-year-old, along with her, and she was on our table. And she's like, I told her about this mom guilt, and she's like, please don't bother. It'll always be something. You also have to live your life. And if you live your life, you will be a better mom and you will set a better example. And I feel like hearing that from someone who has been through it was just so relaxing for me and so empowering. So this is also why these communities are required for women, because our challenges are so unique. And we go through menopause. Nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to talk about postpartum. Nobody wants to talk about so many other things. Then these communities help that conversation happen, right? It makes you feel like you're not alone. So yes, I think this is part of it. So I would like to pass that on. I'm telling you, there's no balance.
All right. So we actually did have a time limit, but I can also tell that a lot of people are really enjoying this. So I will go forward with the segment that I thought I would have to scrap, but I'm not going to, which is like a rapid fire round. So
Okay,
also in the meanwhile, if anyone wants to ask, maybe we could take one or two questions before we maybe just do one mixer round. But so you could type that question in, but in the meanwhile, I'm going to ask you some very quick questions. You
sure.
may not have had time to think about it, but all right. So, in one word, what's your favorite part of working in maritime?
Okay, I have had time to think about it. Thank you, Denaz. It's the camaraderie of it. I think actually we don't realize how actually tight knit our industry is. We can be friends across sectors, whereas in other companies and in other sectors, it's not that common. It's not that common to have that kind of camaraderie.
Again, who is one woman in history who you admire the most?
I'm sorry, this is going to be like a, Miss Universe pageant kind of answer. Like I'm going to change the question. But yeah, I think I look up to mothers. I feel like the way they manage time is quite like insane. Like it's not possible to manage time better than a mom with kids and working as well. So yeah, I admire that.
All right. And what's the best leadership advice you've ever received?
Okay, I think this I'm still working on, but it's saying no to things that don't serve you. So if you don't say no often enough, your yeses don't mean anything. So I feel like this is something I'm also trying to work on. But yeah, it's learning to say no, knowing when to say no. Yeah.
And are you a morning person or a night owl?
I prefer the morning, but because I have young kids, it doesn't matter anymore.
All right. And what's the one book that has had a big impact on your life?
Okay, this is actually something quite personal, I'll share. Before I had kids, it was just during the COVID period that I got pregnant, and at that point, I wasn't sure if I wanted kids. I wasn't. I'm a very intentional person, so I wasn't sure if I'm going to go into this, and the kid's going to deal with a very tough, bleak future because that's all you are inundated with. And so the book I had picked up at that point was *Sapiens* by Yuval Noah Harari, and that really helped only because it was kind of an anthropological book, and it kind of goes through all the quote unquote shit, sorry, that humankind has gone through, and all the progress they have made and we have made, and how we go through each era and get better at it. And I somehow, when I read that, I felt heartened. I felt like this is just the nature of humankind. It is just the vicissitudes of life. So I don't have to be bogged down by what's happening around me. It is just what happens. This is life. So it just helps to put things into perspective, especially if you're feeling anxious or negative about the world, which is very common in our day and age, where we are so inundated with negative news, more or less. So that was quite helpful.
Right. And what's your go-to productivity hack?
All right. So I am a chronic multitasker, and I recently learned, well, not recently, but a while back learned that, when you switch from one task to another, and sometimes you get into a state of flow where initially you have this inertia and then you get into a state of flow and you keep going and you get the task done. So actually, it takes you about 10 to 15 minutes to develop flow. This is proven by like scientific studies. And so when I learned that, I realized that it's all right that if I switch a task, it's all right to give myself some time to actually get into that flow state and then complete something. And if I want to switch out, then please be mindful of the fact that it will take 10 to 15 minutes and you will hate yourself at that point, but, or the task at that point, but the flow will come. So knowing that helps me to understand that it's not the task that's hard, it's just me getting into that state of flow.
Okay. And what's your favorite way to unwind after a long day?
I love crocheting. I really like crocheting. I also like a glass of wine. So, I could combine the two.
All right. I think that, okay, maybe just one, like a one-word answer. Describe your leadership style.
Introspective, I think.
Okay. All right. Nice. So that was it for this. I don't think we have any new questions apart from just like basic admiration for you, I think.
No, please stop. Like you are very kind, but it makes me feel like I totally do not deserve admiration. I deserve friendship. I deserve you all to when I ask you for something, please support me. Or if you need something, let me support you. So I really think it's got nothing really. I really, Tenas, I really mean it. I'm not trying to be that way. I just think that it's important we consider that, everyone is accessible. Yeah.
Right. And before we go to like just a very short networking round, is there a message that you would want to close this segment with?
This is a bit heavy, but no, nothing at the moment. But maybe I will have a brainwave. I really just want to say, just help when you can. Help others when you can, because it really makes a difference in someone else's life. You never know your kindness. Generally as women, we tend to be kinder to others. And then as you posted that today, actually. Yeah, you posted that, the metrics today. But yes, generally as women, we do tend to be kinder to others anyway. But you really never know how your kindness can help someone's trajectory or their perception of self and then their confidence and all of that. So that's really it.
Right. Okay, so everyone, let's virtually give her a round of applause. Thank you so much for joining us. Okay.